Welcome to a Friday Reads, where I talk about what I read, what I'm reading, what I hope to get to next. because I've actually made a lot of great progress reading-wise. I'm a little stalled because my home life is a little stressful because my cats are not eating. I took them to the vet. We think it's just an upset stomach stuff, but I've never dealt with that with cats, and it's not like dogs where you can get them to eat stuff. So we'll see. I mean, there's no fever or anything. I don't know. But I just get very distracted when my cats are not healthy, and being distracted, like reading, doesn't always help that. But regardless, I am currently in the middle of 3 trilogy enders. Well, not trilogy enders, but series enders, which is very cool. So I'll discuss my thoughts, because I'm more than halfway through all of them, or about halfway in all of them. So I've got some good midpoint thoughts. And hopefully next week I have finished book thoughts and I've read other things, That's the idea. Even though, again, the world. And I do need to start prepping for the end of the semester. Which, it's funny because, I know my students are struggling. It's getting harder and harder for them to, show up. Some didn't even show up for their exam today, because, life's busy and motivation. It's yeah, it's hard for you. How hard do you think it is for me? I gotta prep stuff. I've gotta perform. But at least I get paid a little, Anyways, books. Let's start with stuff that I talked about last time and then end with one of my most anticipated releases of the year. That sounds fun. So I am about 50% of the way in Fault Tolerance. This is my audiobook. I mainly listened to this going to work Tuesday, and I had to on Monday I was clearing leaves from the front yard because it's, 'tis the season. So this is my audiobook. But my brain's been very anxious, so I only listen to podcasts today because I don't really care if I don't listen to the podcast completely. But this has been fun. It only has one thing that bothered me. And that's honestly not a trope that normally bothers me. But I think it's because this, to me, is not something I read for the relationships or the romance. And I think that might be different for other people because, as I have learned extensively from people playing Dragon Age and Mass Effect in my Discord, it's people really like to ship people in those types of RPG games, and that's just not really my thing. And so a lot of people are paired off in this book, and one of our main characters' decisions is based off love and doing a thing. And I don't mind that in a fantasy romance or a romance heavy book, but this is more of an adventure book that has people who are in relationships. And so her decision and the effects of the decision irked me. It just irked me because it was so dumb and unnecessary. I think it was in character. So it's that. It's just it's one of those things where I'm just why did you do it? Because it made everything so much harder, But yeah, it's been fun. It's been a good time. I just haven't been in the headspace to listen to a book on my commute. Maybe next week. But I really don't have that much left. So it'll be done soon. I mean, I say that. Yes, there's only half a book left, but I read half this book in 2 days. It wasn't difficult to read. It's a very nice adventure, palate cleanser, science fiction. The one that took way more effort, and I'm way proud of my progress, is Perhaps the Stars. I am this far. I'm on page 380, guys. Go me. It's been my tradition this month so far to spend Sundays just sitting down and just digging into these books. I'm really liking it. The only reason I paused it was because of the next book that we'll talk about, and maybe because of headspace issues. But I have just been loving the conversations, and this is a book where it's dense, but also every chapter kind of ends with the equivalent of a dun dun dun. It's what's that mean? What's that mean? We did not just do that. And it's it's way too relevant for our current end times at the moment in terms of politics. In terms of people in power just doing the wrong thing. Maybe for the right reasons, ? It's fascinating. And also because some of these chapters can be quite long. There was one chapter I read that almost felt like its own short story, and it was a terrifying short story. That was very cool. It's such satisfying payoff for the amount of work that's been put into the series up to this point. I think it's just doing a fantastic job of thinking about this thought experiment and all of the angles for it. I do not know how this ends. And there are so many moments because they're chronicling what's happening in real time. So the beginning of a chapter might be, it's so hard to tell you about this part that you remember. And I'm I don't remember. I do not know what you mean. And you're like trying to figure out what happened. And sometimes you're right and sometimes you're wrong. And it's stressful. It's great. I'm having a really great time with this. So I am hoping to finish this soon. But the next book I think I'll probably finish first that I haven't even really talked about is The Lotus Empire by Tasha Suri. I'm about halfway through. I did start this on release day, and it's Thursday. I haven't read it today yet, but I read like half this book between Tuesday and Wednesday. And I would have read more, but that's when my cat started getting sick and the anxiety brain went burr. But considering I read this much with anxiety brain, not bad. I've been really liking this book so far. In particular, because it's still character driven. I find a lot of third books in series can sometimes put character development and character relationships to the side because now we have to wrap up everything and reveal all the things we need to reveal so that we get to the ending. And I mean, that even happens in like my favorite like series, like Mistborn. The third book kind of like forgets that your characters need quiet moments and character development. It's not the case here. Big things happen at the end of Oleander Sword. And we spend like the first 25% of this book unpacking that. And actually, even now, we're still building and gathering more lore. And you're just like, I don't know what's going to happen. It's really, and it's like, it's interesting how intimate the problem is and how global the problem is all at once. And it doesn't fall into that trap that I normally have with epic trilogy endings, at least so far, where it's like, usually by the time you get to the third book in a series, any society issues you've set up go by the wayside because we have a big bad. We have magic, we gotta get under control, we gotta kill someone, I don't know. There's usually a big bad, and so the nuances of any political discussion usually don't exist anymore. And here, they're just so intertwined. How could they not be? So yes, it's very intimate at its core. The leading factions are led by two characters who are emotionally intertwined. But also, you still get the boots on the ground. How does this affect these individuals across all these provinces? And, you know, I'm curious to see how we stick the landing with it. And yeah, I want to get back to this. I have a lot of other things on my to-do list today, but this is what I'm planning on reading. And what's also very fun. So this is the Patreon buddy read. So I've been checking in like every chapter or so. And also I'm reading this with my friend Roger. We've been doing the Cosmere along. We read Wheel of Time together. And we realized like besides Wheel of Time, we hadn't really buddy read something together. And so that's been like a fun motivation. Although he is much further ahead of me right now. He said he's on chapter 45 and I am not. But it's okay. I don't have to teach tomorrow, although I do have to film for my online class. So we gotta get on that. But this has been great. So far, been what I wanted from a new release. Or like at least without hyping yourself up too much. I feel like last books are just, I'm always a little trepidatious about. I think there's been like a handful of times I've read a last book in a series and gone, oh yes, this is going to be the best. And I think one of them was Revenant Gun for 9 Fox Gambit. That's a 5 out of 5 book. Really loved it. So yeah, once I finish these 3, I'll have finished 3 series. Isn't that wild? Isn't that wild? What will I read next? Chances are it's going to take me most of my reading time. But let's say, you know, I'm feeling like I want to pick up a book. I did just react to the Goodreads Choice Awards. And there were 2 books that made it onto some long lists that I'm like, yeah, maybe I should read them. One of them is Wandering Star, and that's on my TBR for the month. So I could pick this up. I could see that happening. Oh, wow. It looks like chunky, but it's actually, once I opened it up, like 300 pages max, I think. It has such tight binding. Why is this binding so tight? Like it doesn't want to open. It doesn't want to be friends. What's the cover look like? Nothing that exciting. Just a normal bound book. But yeah, so this one was on the fiction category. So that'd be cool. I wouldn't mind. I think it's the one I'm voting for anyways. And then Warm Hands of Ghosts. Once I finished Fault Tolerance, I'd like to give that a shot. I'm going to DNF it super fast if I'm not vibing. And I might not vibe. We'll see. I'm going in with very tempered expectations. Extremely tempered expectations. And if that audiobook doesn't work for me, I think it's time for some Verkos again. So that's my current, like, near future plan. But also, I'm still watching Bones. I'm on season 7. So, almost done with season 7. Because that's a short season anyways. And then we have been watching a bunch of TV. We need to catch up on The Penguin. We're very behind on The Penguin, which I believe by now is over. And we've been watching Psyched. Is that what it's called? No, not Psyched. Shrinking. Psyched is a show I don't like from USA. which I know is blasphemous. I tried. I've actually watched the entire series. It's not my humor. It's just not my thing. But Shrinking has been a delight. The way that those writers write an ensemble cast works so well for me. Like, it is an absolutely abhorrent representation of therapy and what you should expect from a therapist-patient relationship, for sure. But in terms of fiction and group dynamics, I'm having a blast. Having an absolute blast. I'm probably going to just start watching Ted Lasso after this because it's the same writers. And, it's just that time of year where I need to feel cozy. And, and I especially need to feel cozy because I know life is just always lifing, but I just needed to life a little less for like 2 weeks. Just like 2 weeks, right? And I didn't even ask for 2 weeks. I just want 2 days. On the plus side, I have never been more comfortable. Today, well, I have been more comfortable, but like in the past couple months, I'm feeling pretty okay, sitting-wise, which is wild. So at least the abundance of money that I'm spending for physical therapy is working, because I'm spending a lot of money on physical therapy. So thank you for liking and subscribing and watching the ads, because I appreciate it. Now more than ever. But yeah, I think I might, especially because I'll probably have reviews for a lot of these, and I have some fun video ideas based off the Goodreads Awards. We might be getting into the time of year where I do 3 uploads a week, so cautiously get excited for that. I don't know. Don't quote me on it. It might still only be 2. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Let me know what you're reading, doing, watching. We are still playing Baldur's Gate. We are pretty bad at it. We do update in the Discord, so if you want to know. That information's there. If you just want to leave an emoji to let me know you're here. Let's leave fire for the Lotus Empire. That sounds great. And otherwise, like if you liked it, subscribe if you want to, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.